Yeah, that's pretty slick. Painted the walls, everything.
Oh, I built all that.
All right.
The only thing that was in
We
here
are live this morning for Reaper's The Truth, the Whole Truth, Nothing But the Truth podcast. We have Mike Duffy joining us today. James and Mike. Mike Duffy
with
MDRC, Mike Duffy Racecars. Totally throws me off because you have
I have to sit
DRC.
There
What's his first name? Yeah.
No, I can remember that. It's the MDRC because my shop is DRC, Dirt Road Customs. So I screw it up all the time. Hey, all we got to do is remember MDRC.
Mike's Dirt Road Customs.
Mike's Dirt Road Customs. It can be.
It can be.
Yeah. Mike will never speak to me again.
Yeah, that was our shop from long ago. We've kind of migrated over to Out of Time Motorsports since we're doing a whole different thing now in life than we were back then.
You got your peoples tuning in?
I have people coming on. I've got 10 so far.
Okay, we'll give it a little bit of time to everybody to get tuned in.
Yeah. Good morning. Thank you guys for tuning into our podcast this morning. We're going to do call-ins a little later after James and Mike talk, so I don't have that active now, but get your questions ready and we will turn that on shortly.
See, when she studies like that, I think she's fixing to ask me a question. Then she don't. She just sits there.
Jake and Callie, thank you for following us across all of our social media.
Well, he does too.
He does. He's
on every one of them.
He's a good guy. I can't call you guys out by names because it's all usernames. So good morning. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Is there a Batman 7843?
Not yet.
Oh, I just made that up. I don't even know.
Not yet, but you never know.
If one of them comes on, let me know.
Who might be in here?
Are you giving any shirts away today? You got to pick a caller number and give a shirt to a caller number?
Yes, I could do that.
You didn't think about that?
Caller 3.
I thought that was our last in our company meeting.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was what we discussed. Read back the minutes from the company meeting.
How was that the company meeting?
It's part of the company. You're supposed to be at the company meeting.
I wasn't told about the company meeting.
Oh my gosh.
She runs.
We don't even have minute meetings. This seems like a fly by your seat of your pants bullshit deal to me.
Out of time.
Yeah, we're definitely that.
I mean, we live by our name for sure.
So we ready to get started?
We are.
Okay, so everybody, there's a little thing that Chief says. If you want to know how we get our cars to go so fast, go to Discovery. Actually, you don't go to Discovery. You come to Reaper's Podcast because I got Mike Duffy, who has touched, worked on, helped out everybody in the 405. Matter of fact, when I said that this morning when we were talking on the phone, he goes, he said, well, that's nice for you to say that. I said, think about it, Mike. Name one guy in the 405 that you have not helped in some way or another, whether it's advice, set up on the car. I mean, nobody knows. Well, everybody knows it because I've said it. Chris Bales took Chuck's car to #1. At the end of the day, you built that car. You built it with what you had, and you took a #1, one of the hardest. Kind of pissed me off about that, by the way, Duff. I was trying to brake. I was trying to get a 3G pull on the street, and I was at like 2.8, and you come out there and fucking go 3.1.
Yeah. Yeah, Chuck's car was built with the intention of street racing in mind. That's all it was built for. In fact, I know he didn't have any power out back for the rest of you guys, so it's a 60-foot race car. That's all it was intended for, and it's about all it still does. Just 60 foot, because he just doesn't have it out back with the big motor cars, not yet anyway.
So how'd you get started doing this, Mike? Because I have known you for 20 plus years.
Yeah, let's see. I've been in race car business as my sole proprietorship for 31 years. And prior to that, I had my Mach 1 that I raced and worked on a lot of friends' cars. And, I don't borrow equipment. If I need something, I save up and go buy it. Bought my own welder, bought my own lathe mill. And the next thing you know, the mechanic shop I worked at closed up the door, but I still had race cars to work on. So in January of 1989, I was in the race car business. Been there ever since. Hadn't looked back since.
So you have a specialty in building cars. You built full-blown start to finish cars, and you've done what is it you call that when somebody brings you a car that don't work?
Well, here the last few years, my niche has kind of become what I call remodels, and it's usually a car it'll be a nice car maybe, but it's just got problems. Rattles the tires, spins the tires, won't work, drives crooked, drives stupid. And they've bought a lot of expensive parts and put on, but these parts may not be orchestrated properly. And so I get them in, and I've been quite fortunate to have a clientele that lets me just do whatever I want on the cars. And over the years, I've kind of developed the knack for knowing what to do to them, and we fix them. And you wouldn't believe some of the problems we see. It's really kind of surprising. I've learned to not expect anything. You're always going to find something new. Find some new problem you've never seen before. Some new virus. There'll be these race cars, they get a virus, and sometimes it's unknown till you discover it,
Mike has the same theory that I do about what you put into these cars. And Mike's sounding real calm and cool, but Mike is a racer. And he is a take no prisoners, cut your throat at that starting line to win. What is it you're saying to what you got to do to win?
We take no prisoners. I've had a couple times.
Well, one of the things you told me the other day, if you're not coming there to win, why are you even coming?
Yeah. It's I call it the winning attitude. I don't care if you run over the crankshaft in the first round. Long as you got the attitude, we can fix this and win, then that's the kind of guy I want to be with. That right there. We may not win squat, but if you got the winning attitude, man, I'm all about it, because you got to start with the winning attitude. No matter what kind of equipment you have to have, I can win this attitude all the time. That's the best help anybody can have right there, is have the winning attitude.
There is a lot more to being confident in your car than people realize. Because if you think that car, I got in a habit one time that the car at 100 feet would shake the tires, and I caught myself lifting the throttle at 100 feet, even when I got it fixed.
Yes.
I got into that habit that even though I had it fixed, I got that habit. I thought it was going to do it, so I was already starting to back off the throttle.
It's like flinching a gun. You don't even realize it, but you do it because it becomes such a habit.
So the other day when I was in the shop, I seen something that was totally out of what I would have ever thought I'd see in Mike Duffy's shop. You're building one that's kind of a pro touring deal too.
Yeah. I sometimes I don't get real excited about street cars, but yeah, I got talked into one, and it makes it interesting because it is a Proline twin turbocharged Chevrolet engine. So that's that'll be really good. It'll be way more horsepower than the guy needs, but it gets me excited. You know what I mean? It makes it more interesting for sure.
Now, 20 years ago, when I came to your other shop, there was
dragsters on the floor.
There was a lot of Mustangs.
Yeah, we worked on a lot of Mustangs.
And that was one of the things somebody had told me once. Oh, if you ever get a Mustang, Mike Duffy's the guy to talk to about a Mustang. But you've had a few of them. Haven't you raced a few of them?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've got the opportunity to drive some of my customers' cars, and even have them live at the shop as I call it a free race car. I'm here to tell you, there's nothing free about a free race car. That's the most expensive undertaking I've ever been involved in. Don't anybody tell you got a free race car, because you don't.
Well, that's kind of like that saying I got, free is not always free.
No, free is generally very expensive, and there's a lot of tuition involved in that also.
Now, one time we're at the racetrack, and Mike and I were talking about Pro Chargers. And something that Travis Quillen told me, he said, everybody thinks a Pro Charger pulls from the front. He said, they don't. They pull from the back. And how did you discover how a Pro Charger pulls air into a car?
Well, a Pro Charger.
Remember your buddy that was at Thunder Valley?
Yeah, we had a car we were struggling with. It was a remodel. It was a car a guy brought to me, and I finished it, built it. And, it's a one-piece front end, and it's sealed up tight, and this car sat really low to the ground. Pro Chargers were still a little new to us at the time. Well, this car had a surge problem going down track, a boost surge. It's a 5-speed car, and you're kind of thinking, EFI and clutch this, clutch that. The surge would actually affect the way the clutch worked. Well, one day we're out in the pit in the field, and the grass was really tall. I'm all about put the hood on. Let's start this thing up before we tow to the line. I don't know how many times we've left 4 plug wires off. So we fire this thing up, and me and his crew chief both notice every time he blips the throttle, the grass is literally folding around all around the front end. And he's just going from idle to maybe 6,000 RPM. Right then and there, we realized, okay, this is our problem. We're just not letting enough air into the blower. And that led to air scoop modification, a few other things. Then we hauled ass with that car after that. But it's amazing how that problem didn't cost anything to fix. And there's no telling how much money we threw at this, chasing our tails, blaming it on other components. And it was just simply our own ignorance, just weren't allowing enough air to get under the hood. I could get all technical. I calculated the CFM and how much CFM of air is under the hood. And basically we empty under the hood every 1/10 of a second when the engine's only at 6,000 RPM. So that gives you an idea of the air volume some of these things require.
So when you radio raced for a while, didn't you?
Yeah.
Before radio racing, before it was lights out and all that, when it was.
Right. It was just kind of coming online, and Mickey Thompson didn't have their good Pro 275 tire yet. So I had some 315s on a little car that lived at the shop and tinkered around with that. And in fact, I had a customer that he was gun shy to drive a car that I remodeled for him, really good car. In fact, this customer managed to wreck his 12-second street car. So, he's kind of new at it. And he wouldn't drive this new car. This new car, at the time, it'd run 5.0s, 5-teens. Finally, his wife pressured him into driving his car. And I told him, dude, we'll just put radials on this thing. And nobody helping you stage is even qualified. You let me stage a car. If you can stage straight, I promise we'll find the finish line with this car. So we put the radials on it, tied the front end down. He absolutely didn't want to have a wheelie, detuned the crap out of it. He went from a career best of 1221 to 798 in one sweep. And that's all he had to do was stage straight and relax. But he had confidence in his car. That's real important. I instilled in him that we'll do this. The car will be fine. If you stage straight, you'll be fine. And that's all it took. You know what I mean?
Well, something that you don't do, but you do is tune.
Yeah, I touch keyboard some, not as much as I used to.
But you don't do that for the general public. But that's something, if it's a customer and you're helping them out, that's something that you look at that. Because I had not seen Duffy in 15 years. And I walked up in the back of Chuck's trailer and I said, you probably don't remember me. Sure, I remember you, James Goad. And I was shocked. But he was in there on the keyboard. And I thought, wow, I didn't know Mike Duffy tuned cars too. And I said something about that over at shop one time. You said, well, I really don't. I'll stroke the keyboard.
Well, so many aspects of chassis tuning is directly related to the engine tuning. You can't do one without the other. That's the bottom line. These cars are so powerful anymore that what you do with the engine tune, specifically the launch tune, is directly related to the chassis tune. So you really need to have skills at both to be successful.
So this is a question for you. So a guy's got a street car, and he's been online. I know those are your favorite guys. They've been online. He's copied somebody's combination, and he calls you up and says, "Hey, I can't make this thing go down the racetrack. I think I have to put big tires on it. It makes about 700 horsepower." What would you tell that guy? What would Mike Duffy really tell that guy? Then we can go into the explanation.
Probably right off the bat, I'll ask him a bunch of questions, but at the end of the day, just bring me your car and some money and we'll go from there. I'm sure you've already spent a whole lot of money on parts because that's what everybody does. It's kind of the street world. They buy a lot of expensive parts and brag and talk about their expensive parts. But if these parts aren't orchestrated properly, it's never going to work out. And ironically, most of these problems people entail, specifically blowing the tires off, little tire street racing, there's usually not a parts problem. It's the way things are put together kind of problem, just setup problems. Sometimes just like our training lesson on the blower and air volume, it won't even cost anything to fix, but it's going to cost you to pay me to tell you how to do that.
But
I don't want to work for free, but I can tell you I'll get you results. At the end of the day, you will have results, or I won't rest till there are results with this project.
Mike is probably one of the he has absolutely no quit in him. If a car is a problem, he will find the problem.
Yes,
there may be some wrench throwing, there may be a lot of racetrack tuning, and
because it's not even about Duffy making money. Of course, I have to make money, make a living, but I am generally intrigued with solving these problems. If it's a new problem, something that's fighting us and we haven't found, I call them snipers. Some of these problems are snipers. That's snipers out there trying to shoot at us and trying to kill us, but he's hidden. Well, some of these cars, you got to track down that sniper. And when you do, man, that's a real good feeling of gratification. And sometimes it may take a few trips to the track, but we usually track down those snipers and eradicate them.
The biggest thing, if somebody wants Mike Duffy Racecars to work on the car, one, you stay pretty booked up.
Yeah.
But some of the chassis tuning and dial in, I mean, it's kind of like when Nick and Rich go to tune a car. They have a thing that they go down, look at the car, go over the car from the front bumper to the back bumper, and then tell you what's wrong with it. Now, that's just an inspection process. So how important is that inspection process, and how much money does that save in the long run?
It's real important. And but I'll tell you what, by the time people usually bring me the car, they're usually at the end of the rope and they've exhausted almost all their funds. But I do take credit cards, so there's we can carry on with this.
But there is no financing program.
Yeah.
We do not have a financing program.
No, I don't have. I mean, I got people that owe me money, but at the same time, I've got other people that are paid ahead. So fortunately for me, that works out pretty well. I couldn't really put a value on. Sometimes you'll look at a car for 5 minutes, like, oh, okay, well, hell, this is obviously what's wrong. Just do this and go make a lap. And maybe that didn't cost anything. I'm curious about the man's problems. But then other times you look at a car and, man, you don't really see anything wrong until you get it in the shop and go a little more detailed, run up on the scales, check alignment, bump steer, and then it gets a little more involved. But I have fixed cars to the track just by turning the knobs on the shocks. Sometimes it's just that simple. You'll get a lot of people that crawl in a car to adjust their fancy, expensive, double adjustable shocks. And this is real common. Y'all need to listen to this. They'll adjust the driver's side shock. Then they'll roll over and adjust the passenger side shock, but they'll turn it backwards. And you think, well, that's stupid. No, you'd be surprised the experienced people that turn their shock adjustments backwards simply because, one, they're at the track. It's the heat of the moment. They're laying on the ground. And these shock adjustments, basically it's upside down and backwards when you're laying on the back looking under your car. So it's real easy to turn one shock one way and turn the other one the other way. Over the years, there's been a lot of cars I've fixed, and it's simply that simple. They were adjusting the shocks wrong. Tire gauges, another deal. Man, I don't know how many tire gauges we've just took and thrown them out in the woods. If you got a dial type tire gauge, I promise you it's no good. So you need to get a good digital tire gauge, and then that thing will be much more reliable than your dial tire gauge.
Well, case in point, Kelly, when I let Kelly Blueball run Reaper that year because I was doing the races and I couldn't do both. I'm sitting there and they're struggling, and I had that car all lined out. His first pass in it, straight as a string, hiked the tire 6 inches, carried him about 200 feet, set him down, perfect pass. At one point in one of the races, I told him, let's double check where the shocks were. So there's a guy that was helping him, which strange shocks turn one way, sandhuffs, which
turn the other way,
which is what we both like a lot.
Yeah.
They turn the other way. Well, I told him, I said, listen, here's the starting point on that car. Go 7 off full tight on the rebound. Go 8 off the compression off full tight. Guess what he did?
Turned him the wrong way.
Went full loose.
Yeah, that'll.
And they're struggling with it, and I'm not, and I'm busy, so I don't know what's going on. And then at one race, I was sitting in the motorhome and I started back out the door and I watched as the car left. And it left and it went left, then it went right, and then it sat down and then it bounced the back end. I went, oh no. And I went over there and said, let's see where these shocks are at. So how important are shocks? In my opinion, that's the most important part of that car, and knowing that shock.
They're really important, knowing the shock. There you go. You know, there's cars come in the shop, have $10,000 Penske shocks, not dogging Penske, high dollar shocks, Penske's, JRIs, whatever you want to use, all kinds of pneumatic adjustment for down track, all kinds of electronics. But you know what? At the end of the day, those shocks are only as good as the operator. EFI is the same way. If you don't know how to use a Holley EFI, but you know how to use a fast, guess what? Maybe you better stick with the fast or go to Holley school. Well, the shocks are the same way. I don't know how to use the Penske's. I've got several of them at the shop. We've taken off cars. They don't want to send me to Penske school. We'll put Santoffs on today and go to their track and start winning rounds because I know how to use the Santoffs. I don't know how to use the Penske's or some of these other expensive ones. I'm willing to learn, but you know, I don't want to learn that for free. Let's put it that way.
Well, and that there's a lot to learn.
There's a lot to learn, and there's a lot of people out there that do know these, how they think they know how to tune these other shocks. And I'm sure there's a lot of knowledgeable people out there that do tune them, but the car still ends up at my shop, or I'm on the phone with this guy talking about the problems, and maybe the problem isn't the shocks. But I tell them, hey, if you want me to work on this, one of the first things I'm going to do is put on some Santoff shocks because that's what I use, you know.
And Mike Duffy is very damn good at what he does. And how many people do you get? I mean, your reputation, you have one of the most stellar reputations as a car builder and a chassis tuner.
Well, maybe.
I mean, tell me one car in the 405 that you have not helped. Not one. Tell me one person on that list, ever been on that list, that you have not had a conversation with and helped.
A conversation with, okay, that opens it up. Because I was going to say, James, I haven't had your car in my shop yet.
No.
However, I'm at your shop today. And we were just all over your new car, weren't we?
But who helped me with the orange car on small tires?
Yeah, I've helped you at the track. Yeah.
Came out to the racetrack. Mike came out to the racetrack, looked over the car, the inspection process. First thing he did was look, see where the shocks were set, looked at where the 4-link was, looked everything over, made a few adjustments, and said, let's go try it. So yes, you have.
Yeah,
I have. And the truth of the matter is, I went by where Mike was 20 years ago when he was so busy that there wasn't. Now you've slowed down quite a bit from back then.
I contribute that to my clientele. I've really, over the years, I've developed a really good clientele. I have to say a shout out to them. My clientele basically screams for me. In other words, people usually don't just call my shop because I never answer the phone. I rarely even listen to the phone recorder. However, if James Goad calls me and says, hey, man, I talked to this guy at the track and he's for real and he's at the end of his rope, there you go. That's my clientele taking care of me. In other words, I'm real fortunate. In 31 years, I don't have a bunch of tire kickers. Most of the guys come to me and they're pretty serious about working on their race car. And I really appreciate that, you know.
Well, and just at one point in time, Ryan told me, he said, and you remember this, Ryan said, listen, he said, I'll take your car over to Duffy. I said, man, Duffy ain't got time to, when I was having problems with Reaper. And he said, man, why don't you talk to Duffy? And I remember Mike had helped me with my Nova Chevy too. He'd give me some advice, but he was like a year out back then to be able to get a car in to do anything too. And I honestly just thought Mike was too busy until I talked to him one day and he goes, hey, why don't you call me before now? And I'll help you with whatever you need. So that was my ignorance because I could have had the car lined out a lot quicker than I did. But when we did the orange car, first person I called was Mike Duffy. When we take this new car out, I'm going to have Mike Duffy out there helping us with this new car because we don't know nothing about that car. We're starting from scratch. And that to take a race car that works, that's one thing, but to start one out brand new, people don't understand how many hits. Well, Ryan's car is a perfect example. When he first got that car, you remember that he couldn't hit his ass with both hands. That car wouldn't go down a street, wouldn't go down a racetrack.
He struggled a little bit. He almost, Well, anyway, he struggled a little bit, and we went out to Thunder Valley and actually went to a shop and made some just offhand changes, and it started improving. And he has good help, but they weren't there looking at the car. His main guy that's really sharp wasn't there to see the car. He's helping him online. He's an awesome tuner and knows chassis stuff, but he couldn't. There's a difference between being there and putting your hands on this thing,
So-
that's a lot to
So
it.
you're saying remote tuning? Remote tuning's pretty hard to do if you're not seeing what the
Remote
car's
tuning
doing.
ain't the same as being there. Yeah, you can look at all that data you want, and it is helpful. But if you're standing there watching the front corner of this car as it launches and rolls out down the track, that says a lot. And you can't even hardly get that on a video. A person has to be there. You have to listen to the engine, watch the tires, watch the front end, and it all happens at just the flip of a finger. But if you watched enough of these, you learn a whole lot just in that flip of a finger right there.
Well, Reaper on a no prep track goes 990, 60 feet. So 60 feet it covers in less than 1 second. It takes a pretty good eye to see something happening in 60 feet in 1 second.
Yeah, and listening to it. You can listen.
When we had problems with the orange car, just something didn't sound
We
right.
had a
Mike's
motor
over
problem or
scratching his
something.
head.
I screwed that up probably.
Ow. We found that bolt missing. Remember, we had a vacuum
Oh,
leak.
that deal. I thought, we put a little too much fuel in the up top of the tune-up, but that's all right.
Well, I mean, we got that thing on the fourth hit to move the tire and go with a radial tire.
It left good for little tires. Yeah.
And I told you when we went down there to Edinburgh, which is not a very good racetrack.
You won that deal.
No, I didn't win that one. But when we were testing, we went on a 112 60 foot on that Hoosier radial.
Yeah.
On a no prep. That thing was rolling pretty good.
Yeah, that was impressive.
So, Stacey, you ready to take some callers and let people ask Mike Duffy questions?
Sure. I'll take some callers now and have a couple of questions that have come in while you guys have been talking. A guy has an 86 Mustang with QA1 coilovers that he street races a lot. And he says, where would you prefer he set the clickers on the rear shocks? You're a little far for him to come drop the car off.
Okay.
If you don't say it, I'm going to.
Well, QA1s are somewhat limiting, but let's make the best of what we have. First of all, is this a stock suspension car or is it ladder bars? Probably stock suspension. If it's stock suspension, you need to be more concerned about the extension travel. Okay, this is what a lot of people do wrong. They set that shock in there and they don't even know how much compression travel versus extension travel they have. A stock suspension car, particularly a Mustang, it's all about the separation. So what that means is at ride height, your springs and spring spanners should be such that the shocks are compressed considerably. I mean, if you only have 1 inch of shaft showing at ride height, that's fine, because on the street, especially with the stock suspension car, the extension travel is what makes that work. The travel and the dampening, which will be the extension, the knob that adjusts the extension, that's what's going to make it happen for you.
Because you want to drive the small tire into the ground.
Yeah, that little tire, the stock suspension, just inherently the geometry, it pushes the tire down. It don't squat, it separates. And separation means you're pushing the tire into the track, which that's your traction. And the shock regulates how quickly you push that tire in the ground. Now, with that in mind, what happens, let's say your shock only has 2 inches of extension travel before it's topped out. In other words, if you pick it up by the frame and the rear end only drops maybe 2.5 inches, that's not enough. You're never going to make that work. So you need to rethink that and make sure you have lots, but the majority of your travel needs to be extension travel. And a lot of it depends on how long the shocks are, but we're not worried about compression travel or bump travel. So what if it's a little rough when you're shutting down? If you're ahead of the guy, you ain't gonna care how bumpy it is on the shutdown.
Everything with Mike is about crossing that stripe first.
Yeah.
Everything. He's being pretty calm, but guys, he gets just as radical as I am about winning. I mean, we sat out and talked one night, and I mean that's what makes you good at what you do. Is you have that passion and all you want to do is win.
Yeah. There may be other problems with the car, but the question about shocks, that's the main deal. On a stock suspension Mustang, have 1 inch of chrome shaft showing at ride height, then you're good. You want all extension travel you can get.
What else you got, Stacey?
wanting to know, Mike, what do you think about the new car that we built, the new Reaper?
We were just out here looking at the orange car or the primer car, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we were just looking at it and going over that. It's going to be a tough car to beat, and it has some really nice features that we will take advantage of. Absolutely. The weight, James is a really particular about lightweight, and he has a combination that allows him to run at that lightweight. So I'm really excited about the car. It's going to be a fast one. It's going to win races. Let's put it that way, because we're about winning. You know what I mean? I'm confident that car's going to win races.
And Mike will be when he's available. Mike will be helping with the small tire car also, because I'm talking with him and Chris Bales about coming in and doing everything to that car, running it at No Prep Kings, and then we got Reaper, or well, whichever car ends up going to, which will be the new car. But that way, kind of got somebody to oversee both of them.
Yeah.
The same guy with the shot question wants to know, let's see, I'll just read the whole thing. How about an anti-roll bar on a stock suspension Mustang? Is it worth putting on?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And I tell you what, this anti-roll bar, when you mount it, it can't be in a bind. That means, what I mean by it can't be in a bind, if you take the links off, that anti-roll bar ought to just flop down under its own weight. The arms should just point down under its own weight. If it binds at all, you got to fix it, because an anti-roll bar that's binding up under load is worse than no anti-roll bar at all. Yeah, that would be a worthy investment right there. Get you an anti-roll bar for the rear and mount it properly, and that goes a long way. You bet.
A little 72 Nova that I bought from a guy, ladder bar car, radial car, 315 radials. We took it out and we got it to go on radials. Now I didn't understand at the time with radials that real soft leave and rolling out there and getting after it was how they did, but that wasn't exciting enough for me. I wanted to be able to put slicks on it and bam. But one thing we did, the car was twisting over, put an anti-roll bar on it. We couldn't get this car. I never could get the car to work right. No matter
it had some
what
power
I did.
then. It had a lot of power.
It had a lot of power. It had a 620 inch motor with two kits.
Yes.
We found out that when we put the anti-roll bar on it, when we welded it up, put it in a bind, welded it too fast, distorted it, and that was it. So evidently that's a problem you see a lot too.
Yeah. In fact, the better anti-roll bars these days, the pivot shaft, the big heavy shaft, it doesn't even mount in bushings. Now they're all made where they mount in spherical bearings. Okay, that's great, because now if you do warp the bracket a little bit and this thing isn't straight a line, it still doesn't bind up the anti-roll bar. But what's even more important is all these chassis are going to flex and bow a little bit when you put a whole bunch of power to them. So the anti-roll bar floating in spherical bearings will prevent it from binding regardless of how the chassis flexes. And they're expensive. But, fast car racing it's not cheap.
They quit giving parts away. Just before I got into it, they quit giving parts away.
Yeah, fast. Just before. Yeah. You're going to generally find that the good parts aren't free. Those companies that sell quality components, they don't have to give them away, and they know it, so but it's worth having. If you want to win, you got to get the right stuff the first time. That's the only way you're going to save money. Get the correct components the first time, and have somebody that knows what they're doing help you with your project.
If there's any listeners that want to call in and ask Duffy or James a question, the phone lines are open. You just call in right there through the Podbean app. We do have a listener that's thinking about back halving a 1998 Chevy 1500. What is the most made mistake when it comes to back halving a truck?
Not enough tire clearance for the wheel tubs. That's a biggie right there. The other problem they do is they don't put the frame rails high enough. So the shocks, they end up getting shorter shocks trying to get the low ride height. Well, that's not what we want. Rear shocks need to have a lot of travel. So yeah, absolutely. Figure out how high the wheel tubs need to be, and then go a few inches more. That's build this thing like you're going to put a Pro Mod tire on it. That way you just build it once. Even if you don't put that big a tire on it, the day may come you want to sell this vehicle. Well, if it'll accommodate a larger tire, both wheel tub wise, frame rail, and suspension wise, that vehicle will be worth a lot more money. Plus, it can just work better. It'll be made to work better. You'll have more latitude of adjustment there.
I have one for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so of course, everybody wants to know prep now that there's TV showing and all that. So why can't a guy just go out and buy a pro stock car or a PDRA car and go no prep racing?
See, that's a pretty good deal. In fact, we were talking about Reaper's new car, James's new car out there. It's built for no prep racing. And I don't know how to describe that because there's so many little aspects that determine a car that's engineered for a no prep situation versus, say, a pro stock cars are built to have 1,300 horsepower, manual transmission. They're built really low to the ground. They're built to race on smooth racetracks. Well, guess what? No prep's going to have at least twice that horsepower if you're going to be a player. And even though the starting line at no prep races is a pretty good starting line, the back half is really sketchy. So it's a different kind of car. There's more emphasis needs to be placed on stability and down track traction, just to make it simple. That's where the emphasis is. And pro stock car isn't necessarily engineered for that. Pro stock cars engineered to be very efficient with 1,300 horsepower, and you go put twice that in it, you're going to struggle a little bit before you get it right.
Well, radial car versus a no prep car, because that's the big debate. Which one's better, radial racing or no prep racing, or prep track racing? Can you take one car and do all three of them perfect? Can I go buy a car that hauls ass on no prep and still be competitive in radial and be competitive on a prep track?
Only if you're willing to change everything in the back end and everything in the front end in regards to suspension and your engine tune.
Oh, so it's not just change the tires and roll.
That's not just change the tires and roll. In fact, if I was going to do a car, multi-purpose car, I'd even have the motor plate and mid plate engineered where I can raise and lower the engine up and down. And a radial car, a successful radial car is a whole different animal. It's here's a way to describe it. So these cars with big tire slicks, we'll look at for a drive shaft speed, maybe 1,400, 1,600 RPM, a quarter second. Well, to put that in perspective, a radial car is going to be about 400 RPM at the drive shaft in a quarter second. So that's not just attained through engine tune. There's a lot of suspension parameters that got to be changed to make that work. But that's one metaphor I use to describe the difference between a car with slicks versus a car with radials. It takes a lot to obtain those different drive shaft speeds to accomplish your purpose. And it's basically just a whole different car.
That's what I don't think people understand. You can't take one, go do the other. I mean, I've tried it with Reaper and it did for what it was, it did pretty good, but there was no way it was ever going to be.
You can do it, but if you're there to win, you better be ready to make some big changes to the car to go from one form of drag racing to another form of drag racing.
How important is the weight on that?
Weight's real important, and winning is everything. That's the bottom line. I can take my Subaru out here and go race on a radial track, and it won't spin the tires, obviously, but I'm not going to win. So a person has to decide if you're here to win or if you're just here to be there, just be part of the scene. Like I say, winning attitude, man, that winning attitude, that's what'll take you further than anything you can imagine.
What else you got over there? No more questions come in?
Not yet.
Well, Mike, you've done it all. You've done radial racing. You've done prep track racing.
A little bit.
And you've got into some no prep racing. Actually, you probably got into no prep before it was called no prep, didn't you?
Well, hell yeah.
Because no prep's a new thing. Everybody.
Oh, it's a real new thing. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, shit. I was a 16-year-old kid out there with a 428 Mustang and racing on the street and the side roads and off in the field anywhere I could. Racers going to race, man. I don't care if we're on bicycles or 99 Subarus. By God, we're going to race.
So when you first started street racing, what was the track preps like?
People don't remember it, but bleach used to be the thing. And, I was kind of economical, so I'd get me a gallon of bleach and mix it half and half with water so it lasts a little longer. And, the water is probably all a man really needed, but I always heard about bleach burnout. So by God, I had to do that too, and it sling up and get in people's eyes. And boy, it just, sometimes it wasn't pretty,
What about the Dr. Pepper burnout? Remember when that shit was going
Oh,
around?
yeah, the soda pop stuff. And hell, we've even had something we called frog water. In school at Okmulgee, we street raced on Thursday nights because everybody go home on Friday nights. So, I'm not going to carry all this out to our spot where we raced. There was a damn pond over there, and my buddy would go down there with an old antifreeze jug and scoop up this old mossy frog water. And hell, that was a big deal. And, and I started winning a bunch of races. Next thing you know, every one of them guys has got an antifreeze bottle out there scooping up frog water.
See, you missed your calling for the Mike Duffy's pimp juice from back then.
Oh, yeah, man.
All you had to do was throw a label
else
on that shit and start selling it.
Yeah, the street racing, that was a lot of fun. That's I say that we shouldn't be doing that because it's illegal, but hell, American history shows that we've always street raced. Everybody street races, whether they realize it or not,
Right down between playing between stoplights.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, that's the thing. People put this bad. Well, it used to be. All the perception of street racing has changed. But to clarify something, when we street race, it is not like a bunch of kids going out there having everybody standing up and down the road. When we go street race, we control that environment.
Yes. And the cars are so much faster these days. I mean, you can go if you got good credit, you can go buy a 10-second Mustang, 10-second Camaro, 10-second Dodge. Well, those are fast enough on the street that you can get hurt. You run off the road in a 10-second car, by God, you're going to do some collateral damage. So I'm saying the street racing is a little more dangerous than it was when we did it. Hell, in the mid 70s, if you had a 12-second car, that was a bad son of a gun. Nowadays, a 12-second car is laughable. It's just.
Back when I ran that Chevy too, that was in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
That car run 950s.
Mm-hmm.
And I drove that car. And nobody realizes how fast a 950 was back then. Because that was like, and I raced it right around here.
Mm-hmm.
That was 950s back then. Well, matter of fact, nobody else had ran that fast up here. Nobody. Yeah. I think, remember when Lane Greco did the first fastest streetcar shootout up here?
Yep.
There's a reason I street race.
Yeah, they wouldn't let you.
They would not let me race.
Yeah.
We went up there. Mike Thermos at NOS had sponsored my car because I always had 2 homemade plate systems that I set with an index set and drilled them because I couldn't afford a cheater. When they came out with the 64-hole cheater, 68, I saved up. I kid you not, to buy that $100 plate, I saved up for like 4 or 5 weeks. I was 17 years old, had a kid. I mean, there wasn't money for race parts. If I changed something on my car, something came off, I went to a swap meet. I got rid of what I had and got something different. And when Mike Thermos first did that car, it was funny. He calls me. I bought a fogger off of Scotty Cannon's on-sat satellite car. I had 2 of the foggers off of it, and I bought one of them. So I called him and asked him, how do I do this? I've never ran one of these. So he asked me, he goes, where's your car run? I said, well, that's none of your fucking business. He goes, well, I really don't care. I said, well, then you shouldn't ask the question. I street race, and I don't tell what my car runs. And I always ran that car up there, no time. I wrote no time at Thunder Valley.
I remember that
track. Yeah. So he tells me, he goes, well, we really don't give a shit. We're just wanting to know what we need to do to help you with your situation.
Yeah.
So I actually sent him a copy of the ET slip. And I said, and he calls me back. And this time Mike Thermos called me. And he goes, does that car really run that fast? And I think that ET at the time was like a 998. He said, does that car really, really, truly run that fast? I said, I'll send you a video, because I used to have a video of every street race that I ever did. And I never lost. I only lost one time on the street back then. Now that was I was fortunate back then. Just didn't come across. I mean, I had the fastest car, so I didn't have to be fast leaving. I mean, I could run anybody down. But when he watches the video, he calls. He says, "Send me your intake. Send me your fogger. Send me all your nitrous off your car."
Mm-hmm.
So I sent it all to him. Now he says, "We're gonna take care of this for you." I said, "Well, what's it gonna cost?" Because I didn't want to. Back then, if they would have said it was $200 to get it out of hop, I'd have lost my intake because I didn't have $200. I didn't have $200 to spare. And he calls me one day. He goes, "We got your intake done." He said, we just got rid of your nitrous plate." I said, "You what?" I said, "You know how long?" I said, "Hey, dude, it took me 2 or 3 weeks to save up enough money to buy that plate." And he goes, "Well, listen," he said, "we got a new plate in R&D that we've never put on a car, but we had some good testing with it on the dyno, and we're going to call it the Big Shot. And we want you to put this Big Shot." I was the first car to ever run a Big Shot.
Yeah.
So now back then, he was telling me, I'm thinking, leave on the plate, get on this big badass fogger. He said, "No, I want you to leave on the fogger and then get on the plate." So that car run a best at that time of 986 at 144 miles an hour. Yes, 147 miles an hour. The first pass we made in the car, at about 800 feet, it touched the rev limiter. 900 feet, it was on it, so I let off of it. On that pass, it went a 977 at 124 miles an hour.
124.
124. I came back, told Ron Shores that was with me. I said, "Dude, this bitch is gonna fly." I said, "Pull the chip out of it," because it had 427 in it. Didn't even have a big motor. I said, "Pull the chip out of it." And he said, "What do you want to put in it?" And I said, "Let's don't put one in."
Yeah, yeah. I saw a chip. What's that?
Yeah, the guys from the racetrack came down and said, "We need to see your license."
Yeah, yeah,
So I rushed in, grabbed my wallet,
yeah.
pulled out my driver's
You
license.
didn't-
They said, "Oh, no, we need to see your 990 license." I never knew what it was.
Yeah,
The reason I couldn't race in that race is because that was the first. We were 2 weeks from the race, so I didn't write no time on the windshield or on the side of the window.
yeah.
And when it went that 977, when it went up on the board, that's back when Todd owned the racetrack.
Yeah,
And they said,
some of these track guys, their hands are kind of tied because of the event liability insurance. I found out, and I mean that seemed like they kind of did you wrong. That maybe it was up to their discretion. They probably could have let you race, but they also have to watch it. No, they might have been under scrutiny for some other infraction.
That was back when they were trying to get their NHRA sponsorship there, and that I went up and talked to Todd Stevens, wasn't it?
Yeah, Stevens.
I went and talked to him, and he goes, "Dude, I love watching your car run." I said, "Well, you guys have known this car's been in the nines." And he said, "Listen, you never put it up on the board.
Never let us know. We never turned on the computer."
"Now we've always known what it was, but we didn't tell nobody what it was. Now everybody knows." And I said, "Well, that's bullshit." I said, "What about?" And I brought up Steve Hand, Tony Woodard.
Yeah.
Because they hadn't been in the nine. Steve Hand had just won a 998. And I said, "Well, what about them guys?" He said, "Well, they all went and got their licenses a week and a half, 2 weeks ago."
And nobody bothered to call and tell you, "Well, we don't want to race that guy.
Hey,
we'll let him get."
There'd been bad blood with me, and they haven't liked me up here for a long time. But I couldn't get the license.
They pulled their Democrat card out on
Yes,
you.
they certainly did. And I didn't get to go to that race.
Yeah.
Mike Thermos even called the track and said, "Listen," and he told me, he goes, I'll never let an NOS support this racetrack. And I don't think to this day they ever have. Now it's under, I quit going to racetrack. Matter of fact, I got out of racing, Mike. I got out of racing. I was so devastated when I rolled out of there, 17 years old. I know Ron Sabry had just went 989 to be deemed the fastest street car in America. I'm like, bullshit. I've already been 970 shutting off early.
Yeah.
But I parked the car. And that's why I was out of racing for 18 years. And that's why I went back to street racing. And Bo Woody's the one he told me about. Yep. He told me about the guys that who's got the track now.
Nick.
He goes, "Listen, Nick, and them guys," he said, "you really ought to try it again." I said, "No, dude, I'm not. I boycotted that track for 18 years. And then when I went back up there, it was a totally different deal."
Yeah. The first couple of years we went to Ardmore if we were going to go to the track.
Yeah, that matter of fact, after that, the only time I did go to the racetrack was Ardmore.
Yeah.
But that's how much things have changed. Back then, that car was, when I say it was the fastest street car anywhere around, it was. I mean, the way Len Greco even talked me into doing the race, he goes, "Well," he said, "I heard I said, listen, I said, you got to show the ETs. He said, well, yeah. I said, no, I'm not interested. He goes, why? You can't buy a race. He said, I heard you're racing motorcycles and spotting them car links to have somebody to race. I said, yeah. He goes, so what difference is it going to make if they know what it runs? Nobody's going to race you anyway. We used to go up 12th Street and Morse with the car and the trailer. We'd roll through there and go, hey, anybody here want to do some street racing? Fuck you. Get the fuck here. Go back to Seminole. And we just say, that's all we needed to hear. But back then, it was a whole different ball game. And that was a 9-second car that was a handful. You know, that car had a straight axle, 4-wheel drum brakes. It was not the safest machine out there.
No, you're probably lucky to be with us today.
Absolutely.
You know?
Hey, Bo ended up with that car, made one pass, flipped the drive shaft out of it. He goes, I don't know how in the hell you drove this car all these years. He goes, how you make that car go straight? I mean, it had 9/16 of an inch front end travel. Mm-hmm. I had dual air shocks. It's how I preload the chassis with a single monoleaf spring.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how it followed you from one race to the next.
Which one?
The Nova.
The car?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. So I take Stacy out to my dad's place one time, and I show her my trailer that I used to pull my race car with.
I bet she was really impressed with that.
Oh, you just heard that.
Jesus.
It scared her so bad because she's used to seeing the trailers I got now. This was a boat trailer. Hey, that was what you got to do. It was a boat trailer that I took some oil field pipe and made me a trailer. My winch was the crank up boat winch.
And it was a single axle?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
Single axle, no fenders.
And of course, you knew what you had, so you only went like 50 miles an hour when you towed it.
Of course.
Of course. Here was the funny thing. When I go to load the car up, I had these little bitty short ramps that were only 3 or 4 foot tall.
You know, I remember seeing that trailer now that you mentioned it. You're describing something that I remember seeing, thinking, oh, my fucking God. I just realized that.
Yeah.
Did you? I might have. No, it wasn't at Thunder Valley. It was probably some
I
street
brought the
race
car on the trailer for you to look at your shop.
Maybe that's where I
thought
saw
you were shaking your head at my car. Evidently, you shaking your head at my trailer.
The car was all right. I remember the trailer. The oil field pipe and the single axle. Yeah, I remember that.
And that was the thing. I had these little short 2x12 ramps because and the trailer set real high. So you look at, you see them ramps, you think that car ain't going up it, but the trailer would flex so much. Yeah. So as you get the front end weight, it just bow the trailer. But I'll tell you what, I pulled that trailer 100 miles an hour, and it was smooth as silk.
Like I say, you're lucky to be here today.
It was like a spaghetti noodle back there.
It was a hoverboard.
Oh, it didn't have shocks.
And she still married you. I know why.
Oh, no. I tricked her before she got to see the trailer.
Oh, okay.
That trailer, I guess, gave her nightmares.
I got you.
Anytime I mentioned that Nova, she's like,
all I think about that trailer.
That trailer. I remember that trailer.
Sketchy.
Yeah.
And now I have a witness. It's sketchy.
Now I can place a face with that trailer now. That trailer's forever embedded in my memory. I don't remember where it came from, but now I remember. Yeah.
Hey, and back then, that was all I had.
Yeah, that's great because we're all about winning back then.
That's right.
You don't win races with a damn trailer.
Nope. And we, Ron Shores and I.
We're not racing trailers.
We went everywhere.
We might race our truck and trailer, but we don't race them fucking trailers.
We did that a few times.
We've done that.
Yeah. There was a few times that we were racing truck and trailers getting the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
We got into that one time. And I got into that deal down in North Dallas. Raced a Monza.
Big block. You took the boat trailer down to Dallas?
Oh, I took that thing to Fort Smith, Arkansas, Dallas, Missouri. We used to.
Did you have a lot of tire problems?
Nope.
That's good. Or amazing.
Amazing.
No, actually, I ran.
What kind of safety chains did you have on that?
I had my car tied down because the only way it was coming off of there, it was gonna have to take the trailer off. But now that I know what a bulldog hitch is, that probably would have been a nice piece of equipment to have. Yeah. Because my safety chain was actually it was one safety chain that went up around the ball and hooked back into the trailer. I was 17 years old.
You know what makes me remember that trailer?
Thanks, Stacy.
No problem. That's what I'm here
Before I was working on race cars, I worked at a boat shop, and we had this rickety old boat that wasn't running right, and I did something to it and was going to go out to Hefner and try it out. And I'll go out to Hefner. Well, the owner already told me if it don't run right, just sink it. Of course, he's being facetious, Well, I'm driving back from Lake Hefner, and I was young and dumb, probably going 80 miles an hour like I shouldn't have been. Well, the freaking tongue didn't come off the hitch, but the tongue broke. All I know is I felt the thump, and I look in the mirror, and this boat is straight up behind my truck. And then it takes off across the center median there at Broadway Extension, and hit the sign at 122nd. And I mean, it just exploded into 1,000 little pieces of fiberglass, and the motor went flipping on down the hill. And somebody pulled up beside me. Hey, mister, you lost your trailer. Yeah, man. I just went on back to work, man. I didn't know what to do. I went in the shop and went back to work. And they asked me where that thing was. Man, it's down the road here somewhere.
It jumped off of 122nd Broadway.
Yeah,
I'm not sure where
so we
it
better
went.
get a wrecker, man. It's pretty tore up.
Back then, that's all I had.
Yeah, yeah. You're lucky the
I'll
tongue
tell you-
didn't break off.
I'll tell you how broke I was back then. Because I was 17 years old, had a kid, had a wife, and I did swap meets. I bought, sold car parts, race car parts, muscle cars, stuff like that. So I hustled the whole time. And when I went to build this car, when I went to do the fuel system, a roll of aluminum
Was
tubing, 1/2-inch tubing from Rosso was $40.
yeah.
Well, back then you could go to Ace Hardware and get you 100-foot roll of 9/16 copper tubing.
Yes, yeah.
For $40.
I've done that before. Yeah,
And that thing, that it had 3 9/6. I ran C16 in the fuel cell, and then, or C12 in the fuel cell, and then in the nitrous tank, which was a Doom Buggy Moon tank.
yeah.
That's what fed the nitrous. But I had 3 blue pumps on it.
Yeah.
When you turn all the pumps on in that car, you watch the volt gauge go.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I struggled for that car would run 1001, 1002, 1003, 1001. And I'm like, damn, I can never break this 9. I'm putting more retard in it. I'm trying to, and then I got mad and I pulled all the retard chips out of it and I put no retard in it
Yeah.
and went out there and went a 998.
Oh, it liked a little timing.
I was pulling so much time. I was so scared to hurt the motor. I was only running at like 24, 25 degrees.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And this was a 12.5 to 1 427 with says ZZ 502.
How big was you remember how big your fuel jet?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, I know exactly what it was. My fuel jet was a 36 and my nitrous jet was a 32.
36 on a plate.
No.
Oh, this is on
the
with the
fogger.
fogger. Okay.
And back then, you remember back then when I got it, I've still got that fogger to this day. I've still got my big shot plate. That's how that was sponsored to me. I'll never get rid of it. Plus it had a lot. I still got the intake, but I'm talking to Bo and I said, listen, I'm trying to find all the shit to do I said, I can't. I said, this jetting chart they're showing me on at NOS's website is all wrong. He goes, no, we were all wrong. I was taught back then by Mike Thermos, but that was back when you always ran more fuel than you did nitrogen.
Yeah. The original foggers, hell, the original ones wasn't even a nozzle. It was, it was a gas nozzle and a fuel nozzle. They weren't even hooked together like a fogger is today.
You're talking about the
And you
fan
ran
nozzle.
a 10 jet spread, 10 more on the fuel.
Yep. And mine was actually the original B nozzles.
Mhm.
And that's what I told Bo. I said, this shit's all wrong. He goes, no, dude, all that time we were wrong. And I never heard a piston back then, but I never put no timing in it.
Yeah.
I was so, I mean, if I got a piston in that car, I just wasn't racing for a while.
Yeah. I had to
So
save
I
up.
played everything concerned. Plus the car had a 29 10.5 or 29 and a half by 11 and a half slick on it. They hung out from it. Was not tubbed.
And this is the blue car, that same blue car back
No,
here?
oh no.
That's
This
a
was a
different one.
64 Nova.
Oh, okay. That's right. That was an older Nova.
Yeah, it was a 64 Nova. Had this square hardwood hoods.
Mhm.
I didn't even have a fiberglass hood on that car. But if I'd have known then what I know now, I'd have never made it past that son of a bitch. Because when I got my 64 Chevelle, I thought, man, this is a big tire car. This thing's cool. And then when I bought that car back 6-7 years later, or 5 years later, when I bought it back, I got underneath it and went, oh, what the hell am I doing? No wonder this car never worked. That's how much in the last 10 years or in the last 5 years, how much everything has changed.
Mm-hmm.
Because back then that Chevelle with the ladder bars was a state of the art deal. Nowadays, I looked at it, it was bad. You got any more questions or callers? We're still, some people are just scared to call in.
Well,
Sometimes
maybe
we
they
get
just
people,
love listening to us.
Well, maybe we're answering all the questions as we go.
I learned a long time ago, it's hard to get answers to your questions unless you listen. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
It's true. Well, now Stacy brought up the trailer, so Mike Duffy's gonna bust my balls about that trailer every time.
No,
I know that's coming.
I wouldn't do
Welcome.
that. I just think
solved
it's
the
amusing.
mystery.
You saw the mystery.
It's historical. Whatever happened to that trailer?
Still got it.
Oh, do you?
Still sitting out at my dad's. Yep. Yep. When I say I
You
really
probably
don't,
wouldn't even put a motorcycle on
oh,
it today.
no, absolutely not. Absolutely. I wouldn't put my Razor on it or that Can-Am or whatever the hell that thing is. I wouldn't pull that around the block with it. But you look back at those times of the shit and that's why I tell everybody, Brantley turned 6. I'm out of these 4-second cars. I'm going to go small tire race and do something. But I have cheated and won a lot of times. I look back and think about I used to steer that car with nitrous. If it would turn around and go left, I'd reach
Spray a little more.
right, I'd reach over and grab the other system. I let it set after that for about a year and a half. And Ron calls me up one time and goes, "Hey, I'm taking the Roadster." Ron Shores. Remember that little T-bucket?
I remember Ron Shores and
T-bucket?
Roadster Mike. And I remember all them guys. And
So, and we were the guys that were hated back then. The guys from Seminole, we were all hated because nobody up here in the city could outrun us.
yeah, they're
So
fast.
This deal goes back way further than Big Chief and the 405.
Yeah.
This thing goes way, way back. Matter of fact, all the guys, and they're still, here's what's really funny. Steve Hand won that deal that year with a 998 or a 982 or something. And it was funny because the first time I went out to the Street Outlaws deal on the show, this guy comes over and he goes, "Hey," he said,
he's teching.
and I asked him, I said, "What all do you need to see?" And we're sitting out there, outside of filming. That's before I was on it. That first time we ever went. And he was telling me, "Oh, I need to take the hood off. I need to take the deck lid off." I said, "Whoa. I got here's my 6.0 license. I got it.
Mhm.
Well, IHRA license." I said, "The car's a 6.0 certified car." "Oh no, I need you to take the hood off." And I said, "Hey, you shit and fall back in it, partner. I'm not disassembling my car on the side of the road just so you can take a flashlight and shine on it."
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, "Well, I guess you're not racing." I said, "Well, I guess I'll go back fucking home." I fired up my truck and the producer comes up there. "What are you doing?" I said, "Prick wants me to take my car apart." I didn't know it was Steve Hand.
It changed.
A little bit later, he comes up.
You don't look like
No, and we were sitting there.
We're all getting old, man. I'm
said,
afraid
"Hey,"
we are.
I said, "Man," I said, "when I get the car up there, I'll have the hood off of it. You're more than welcome to walk up and look at it, but I'm not doing it out here in the dark and all that." And he came up and I said, "I kind of apologize for the way I was acting." He goes, "Well, my name's Steve Hand." And I looked, I said, "Steve Hand? Green 68
That you?
Camaro?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "James Goat." He goes, "Oh, I remember who you are." I guess I still had that distinct voice even back then.
Yeah,
A lasting
yeah.
impression.
Well, I tell you what, we were cocky, arrogant bastards. Me and Ron both. Ron's little T-bucket went 960s. Now, Ron had always told me, he'd always talked about how that T-bucket outrun my car. I said, "Dude, only thing standing between you is air opportunity, your fear of how bad I'm going to outrun that car. So anytime you want to get busy," and that was a big thing. When he went, he goes, "I want a 61. I said, "And?" I said, "I'm the one person on the planet not scared of that T-bucket." Now I had a little 68 Camaro and he had his 56 Chevy. They both had 400 small blocks, both had sticks in them, both had 355 gears. Now we wore them the fuck out. And it was funny. We'd go out and race one time and I'd get him by a fender. We'd race right back to back again. He'd get me by a fender. Now we wore those two cars out, but we never lined up the Bucket and the Nova and the Chevy too. I don't know where that car went. God, I hope they did something besides what I had done to it.
What do you have for a trailer?
Ron actually had a pretty nice trailer that he'd built.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a better welder than I was back then. I mean, he had a dual axle trailer and all that. I mean, he had a pretty nice trailer.
He put 2 boat trailers together.
Yeah, he took the axle out. 2 of them. Actually, I think he went to Hayes Axle and actually bought axles. But Ron had a full-time job at Napa. He had more money than I did.
Yeah.
Everything I got is what I had to hustle for. Or doing mechanic work on the side. I mean, that's what I did. I worked on cars and went to swap meets. I did 52 swap meets in 1 year.
Good Lord.
Yeah. And I, one of these days, well, if COVID shit ever ends up, I'm gonna load all this stuff up, have Stacy go up to paint swap meet and let her unload a bunch of this stuff. I go to that swap meet every year just because I have a blast. I've been going to that swap meet since I was 17.
I've been to that once. I've been to it one time. It was awesome.
Oh,
You don't get to see it all. It's so big.
No.
You need
and that swap meet's alive.
Need a bicycle or something.
Oh, I take something to drive every time.
We buy something. Like one year we bought a Barstool racer. We took a motorcycle, so we're riding around there on the motorcycle. Then we bought the Barstool racer. Another year we bought that little Cushman thing with the bed on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I buy something every time I go up there. I was drunk when I bought the Barstool racer, though.
Oh yeah.
It was sitting right next to me.
Absolutely.
And the guy was going, "Hey," we were looking at it, and he goes, "Man," he goes, "Guy come by here a minute ago. He offered me, I can't remember, $400, $500, and I let him walk away." I said, "See," and I'd already been drinking. Because when I go up there, I'm having a good time.
Yeah, after it closes at like 5 o'clock, it's just a party.
It's a party on, dude. It's all a bunch of car guys.
Yeah, I kind of remember that.
We had
great.
I had a blast. But I started to walk away, and I said, $450, and let me walk away. He goes, "Sold." I said, "Son of a bitch." Because then I had to ride it.
They don't have no shocks on that.
No,
so it was real thrill. But you're used to because you drove a Nova that you rode around on a boat trailer.
Barstool racer was a little safer than the trailer, to be honest with you. The bad part was I decided I'm going the Miracle Mile. So I get almost to the other end of the swap meet and the chain breaks.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. No cell phone with me. So I just sat there and there's some other
Sold
guys
it to
over
somebody.
there. Went over and started talking to them, and we sat there and drank for a while until Stacy come looking for me. All right. Well, we got time. We done?
We are. We just have one guy that asked a question a minute ago. What's a good gear that you would recommend for street racing in a 700 horsepower car?
Rear gear, I take it, and he's probably got a typical slushy box power glide or something. And did he say what size tires?
He doesn't.
Probably a little tire car.
Oh shoot!
If it's a 180 power glide, you need to look at your overall gear ratio. And what I've found on stuff that's street race, low dollars, 1,000 horsepower deal, if you can keep that overall first gear ratio to be about 6.6, 6.9, say 7.0, 6.5 to 7.0, let's call it that. So that's probably going to be about a 355 gear, 340, 355. And it's all about, when it comes to street racing, it's all about hooking up and not having to lift. So if you run that little bit taller gear, maybe you can spray a little harder or just apply a little more power, but it'll be much more tractable. It actually makes the torque converter work better for you. It lets the torque converter absorb the tire spin to a certain extent. There's a lot of other factors involved, but if I had to answer that right now without knowing more, I'd say a 355, 350 round in there.
You said you seen something you were wanting to.
Well, we had a caller that was coming in, but it went away. So I don't know if they got disconnected. If it's
the trailer scared him.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, thanks, Stacy. I'm never gonna hear the end about that trailer.
I want to go see it.
Let's go get that trailer. I'm gonna take it over to Mike Duffy.
Exactly. I was thinking we need to go get that trailer.
That trailer, we put it up here on a post. What not to do.
I was just glad to finally meet somebody that knew that trailer that could share my fear of that.
Yeah, I remember seeing it. It probably was at my shop. As soon as you said the drill stems, and I'm like, man, I think I've seen that before somewhere. So, yeah, I remember thinking, holy shit.
And the bad part is I didn't just pull my race car.
Yeah.
When I go to a salvage yard and buy a car, and I winched it up with that boat winch. Some guy asked me, he goes, "Why don't you get an electric winch?" I said, "A what? Electric winch?"
Then you'd have to buy a battery too, heaven forbid.
That's $100 shit right there.
Yeah.
You're saving up for a piston that you didn't have to buy.
I'm saving up for a camshaft change or something. Yeah. All right. Well, so Mike, we appreciate you coming over here.
Oh, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Look forward to it.
He is definitely one of the guys that has done a lot for the racing, has done a lot for street racing, done a lot for the 405. And he's probably he is the most respected guy, even though he's acting very humble. At the end of the day, he still knows he's damn good at what he does. Problem solving. Mike fucking loves it because the harder the problem, the more behind it. It's
interesting, yes, intriguing.
And he has he helped me with the orange car, but we've had many talks about different things. I was showing him some of the stuff on that car that we've done, and I mean, Mike noticed the struts on it right off the bat. Oh, so you did this to do that? I'm like, that Mike Duffy's the guy that if you're racing against him, you want to keep the fuck out of your pits, because if you're doing well, you don't want him, because he's gonna walk up and see all your little tricks. You know, the no prep race that Brett and I won in that 65 Chevelle. That's the first thing we did when people come walking over there, is we'd throw something over the shocks on the front to where nobody could see.
I tell you what, there's a lot more ways to lose a race than there is to win a race. So a guy needs to learn what doesn't work out also. And then not only why this doesn't work out, but you need to, I got a book at home. I've got notebooks at home, and one of them is basically, I call it How to Lose a Drag Race. And man, it's like, it must be 2 inches thick. But I got another notebook at home where I keep notes of stuff that I've seen other people are doing that were really good ideas and really successful. Guess what? It's not even one spiral notebook thick yet. So there's a whole lot more ways to lose a race than there is to win a race.
Do what?
Caller.
Okay, send them through. Go ahead, caller. Who are you? Where are you from?
Oh, it's just Trevor from Cali without questions. I just wanted to say hi. I'm trying to figure this stuff out myself.
Well, are you learning anything on this? This is Trevor with the big tired pickup.
Oh, yeah.
With the bone truck. So have you figured anything out?
Well, I think everybody's learning a lot. Y'all make complex things into layman terms very beautifully, and I respect y'all for sharing your hard-earned knowledge learned on these streets.
Well,
thank you.
Well, that means a lot. That really does, because like I said, that's why I wanted Mike on here, because you don't even see Mike on the show. You may catch a glimpse of a blue shirt and a hat. But
well, I love the behind the scene guys more, because they ain't looking for their glory, and then they come on something like this with you and share the knowledge, and those are the men I got the most respect for. So I just wanted to call in and tell you guys are doing a beautiful thing.
All right, well,
I appreciate hearing that.
We definitely appreciate that.
Y'all have a beautiful day. I'll let you get back to your thing.
Thank you,
buddy. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Well, that was nice. That's kind of the way I am. You know, I watch the show, but I'd like to know more technical stuff about what the guys are doing. But that's just me, you know, and I understand that 90% of the people that do watch the Street Outlaw show, they're not into the technical stuff, you know, which is fine.
70% of the demographic are not car guys, are not car people.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Hey, James, how's it going?
Oh, it's going good. How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Hey, it's Andy from New Zealand, mate.
Oh, from New Zealand.
Wow.
Andy, you mean
5 o'clock in the morning, and I stayed up for this, man.
Do what?
It's 5 o'clock in the morning, and I stayed up for this.
Well, bless your heart. Hardcore right.
Can you turn your volume down or use some earbuds? Your echo
We're getting a bad echo.
Yeah, that's probably my line.
There you go. All right. Did you have a question?
I did, mate. Look, my long story cut short, my old man, you know, about 5 years ago, he said to me just after the old lady passed away, he said, hey, you know, the one thing they always wanted to do was do drag week. And he said to me, look, do you think you'd ever be into it? And I said to him, I don't know. But then watching your video the other day, James, about your story and everything else, made me kind of think, well, hell, you know, he is getting old. I should probably do this with him.
Oh, that's awesome. I tell you what, when I did Drag Week in 2012, you guys see a lot of bullshit on the show, and that doesn't happen at Drag Week. When you go to Drag Week, if you're having a problem and when the car breaks down, you pull over, you got 15, 20 guys just jumping out, pulling over to help you out. It shows the camaraderie and the true brotherhood of racing, unlike anything I've ever done. So I think that would be awesome for you guys to do Drag Week. It's definitely an experience that you will never forget.
Yeah, definitely. And this is something I want to surprise the old man with. Obviously, you know, there are a couple of cars that he's really into. And the big one that he's actually into is a 58 panel van. Panel truck, I think is what you guys call it.
Yep.
Any advice you guys got for us, especially from Mike, on getting a 58 panel truck built out for drag week. Would be great.
As far as technical aspects of this,
Yeah, cage, all that. Because I mean, the motor I can sort out. It's
Okay.
cage and all of that. I don't know.
are you going to make it a big tire application or little tires?
I'm thinking trying to keep it small tires, just so I'm not having to change all the stuff. I said to them, I've said to a couple of mates of mine, like, if we're gonna do this, I'm not trying to tow a trailer at all. No trailer, no nothing. It'll just
Kinda
be
what
me,
I'm
the old man,
And you
load the
kind
thing up and go for it.
I like the idea of a van. You don't have to have the trailer. That's pretty interesting. Plus, you have a lot more room for large gas tanks, like you noted. I've never done drag week, but I would think the cooling system is really important.
And valve train.
And valve train. Yes, you would need a really durable valve train. A cam that's easy on the valves. Something that doesn't accelerate and decelerate the valves at a really quick rate. Because it's no good if you're going to be breaking springs all the time.
And the thing about drag week, if you start drag week, when we started drag week at Tulsa, there was 350 cars that year, and 5 days later, we're back at Tulsa. There's not 125 cars.
Wow, over half the field.
Over half the field, and I sit there and went, I don't care who you are, what class you raced in, you were a winner.
You got to finish to win. Finishing is winning.
In drag week, just a finish is a win.
Yes.
So they actually, with what you're talking about, I don't know what the cutoff. You'll have to pick a class and build the car around that class because the rules are different for every one of them. I think they've actually got a gasser or old
the gasser class.
Yeah.
Yes.
That would probably be the one you'd want to try to get into.
Definitely, mate. Like I said to my mate, because my mate's a big component of this, because he goes to America quite often, because he's got a bad habit of every year he gets a vacation, he goes to America and drags back another car.
He's
He's now got 14 of them, so I'm now for a divorce soon, mate.
Well, hey, good luck on drag week. I mean, I know you probably follow the page. If you start building that drag week car, send us some pictures and stuff of it. That's a cool story.
Yeah, stay in touch. Yeah, that'd be neat. I'd be interested to see that.
Yeah, definitely will. I mean, it's something we're gonna have to learn real quick, but we'll get there.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, cheers, James, anyway, for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Andy.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, now, Mike.
Now, in New Zealand, do they have the steering wheel on the left side or the right side?
There's some guys that come over. I cannot remember their name. They're cool as hell.
Hey, if he needs a trailer, I know a guy that's. Oh, never mind. Let's don't go there.
It might be too long.
Hey, and here's the thing: as long as it's been, I can't even say too soon. I got nothing on that. There was some guys that the year that we were in Australia that came from Australia or New Zealand or something, and they had this twin turbo. I can't remember what.
I don't even know what it was.
The silver car.
It was a little van type.
No, not. I'm talking about the one that they. Everybody was trying to get a test pass in. And
the guys that made the hit out on 169.
Yes.
Those guys are from Australia.
Yeah. It's funny as hell. Now there's one guy that's walking around and he's wearing a pair of dun shorts, the little B shorts. And somebody made a comment. Well, it just so happens, who was it that knew them?
Larry Larson.
Larry Larson knew him. And somebody, because Larry had helped with that car.
Yeah.
And Larry told me, he goes, that guy right there, he professionally fights.
An MMA fighter, he can kick up over your head.
Oh, yeah. And he's walking around with a fanny pack and those shorts and everything. And I said, boy, he goes, I feel sorry for the guy that turns around and
you don't want to go
about him. He goes, oh, he don't want to do that because they're leaving here going to Vegas for like a $50,000 fight. I cannot remember those guys' name, but what was hilarious was they're wanting to test pass and it rained and the stage lanes were backed up. And all of a sudden we hear, woo, 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 woo. He goes right out on 69 highway, makes 2 hits, comes back. And I said, dude, that's fucking ballsy right there. He goes, what do you mean, mate? I thought we were here to race. He
That's
goes,
how we do it down under.
he said, this is supposed to be about street cars. This is how we do it down under. We get out there and we race.
Yeah.
They were making test hits on 69 because the staging lanes were too full. I cannot remember those guys'
I
names.
cannot either.
But they were. And
Yeah, that's like concrete out there. He's probably really liking the traction.
I'm telling you, dude, they were out there just making test hits, and everybody's like, what the hell? I'm like, that's a good idea right there.
Andy said it's a right-hand drive car.
Right-hand drive, yeah.
Oh, that'd be really cool.
Yeah, it'd be different.
Mhm.
Of course, I'm looking at it like, okay, well, it's better if the weight is on the driver or the other side, the left side, unless you got a reverse rotation engine or something. But that's just how I think. Yeah, it's like I've never worked on a right-hand drive car. I wonder what I'd do for the corner weights to compensate for that.
Mike will be doing mathematical equations
Yeah.
on the way back to the shop.
About my
Figure out what to
calculator
do.
here in a minute.
Yep, trying to figure this deal out.
Well, guys, Mike, I want to thank you for all the help you've given me, all the help that you've given everybody in the 405 to make us as fast as we are. And even though you're humble about it, every one of us have leaned on you at one time or another. And I don't know anybody that said I tried to get Mike to tell me something and he wouldn't. So I for one appreciate even the things, the conversations and the advice you've given me here lately a lot. I want to say thanks for.
And I enjoy it. You know how it is. It's technical aspects are intriguing, and I just eat it up. You know what I mean? I'll help a guy. People don't understand. If I help a guy, if I get an opportunity to help a guy, a lot of times I'm learning from this deal too. I mean, even after 31 years of nothing but race cars, I literally learn something new every day. My old man told me you need to do that. And by God, he was right. There's something to learn every day.
Well,
and the important stuff, you put it in your notebook.
Well, I tell everybody the same thing. Guys that think they know it all annoy the fuck out of us who do. I learn something new every day. Every time I get in that car, the challenge part of it is the biggest part of it. I mean, everybody can say, well, oh, we're going to race, no prep for the money. The fuck if you are. You're going to race for the prestige, your testosterone, the fact that you can say you are the fastest.
That's true.
I laugh at these guys going, oh, we want to race for the purse. Well, there's other no prep races out there that pay the same amount of money, and you guys aren't going to them.
Yeah, racers are we're big ego people, and that's nothing wrong with that. That's what breeds competition. You know what I mean? And competition breeds experience and knowledge and development. And it's I don't want to call it a vicious circle, but it's
a vicious circle.
I'm glad I'm involved in it. It keeps me going,
I want to close this with one final question from Mike.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Mike has been around race cars for 30 plus years, and he has seen every form of racing. When drag racing, when street racing was hot, how much do you think, in your opinion, the show changed drag racing?
I think it changed it for the better. I think there's a lot larger following and a lot more people aware of it. I can tell you this, years ago, I'd meet some people that aren't race car people, different social circles. And well, what do you do for a living? Well, I build race cars. So the first, you work on NASCARs, because that's all they've known. That's all they see on TV. Well, now the Street Outlaws has been on TV. Do you work on any of the Street Outlaws? And yeah, as a matter of fact, I do. Oh my God, that's just, now you got a group of people want to hear all the Street Outlaw stories that you know what I mean? It's, and you didn't get NASCAR people want to know NASCAR stories.
And anytime somebody asks, I'll bet your favorite question about me is he really big asshole? He seems to be on TV. I think your mom asked you that question, did she not?
She might have. It's
Mike's mom watches Street Outlaws,
and she's somewhat of the, I want to use the term intellectual. She watches Masterpiece Theater, and that's some Channel 13, like soap opera kind of deal. But she watches Street Outlaws. It just blows my mind. But she also used to do my book work. So she found it real interesting. She see these tickets come across my desk with the players in the show's names on the tickets, and she would want to know a little bit about what I did for them. but she would want to know about their personal life. Once again, she's one of the ladies that's more interested in the drama. She watches the racing and all, then come, that's the show aired on Monday. I go over there on Saturdays. We sit at the table and, oh, well, I want to know about James Goad. I told him all about your grandson. Oh my God. She wants to know all about your grandson every time I see her, and wants to know what Dave's up to, what's the Chuck's up to, everything in their personal life. So I kind of try to pay attention to what you guys tell me, because she likes to hear this stuff, I'm here to tell you, these guys are human. You know what I mean? There ain't no different than
And that's what I tell everybody every day. We all put on our pants the same way.
yeah.
Some people believe that they're above everybody else, but everybody puts on their pants the same way. We all get up. We do the same thing every day. We just try to make a living and try to go faster
And go racing and win. Yeah, win races.
Win races.
Yeah,
that is. You know what? I'm gonna have a sign put on the car, the orange car, when Mike's working on it. Win races.
Win races. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
it.
yeah. Job one. Win races.
That's what we're doing here for for 2020. If we can ever get it started,
Yep.
that's our plan.
Yeah, it kind of sucks what's going on right now. I can tell you this whole quarantine virus thing, nobody's racing. I still got a shop full of race cars. In fact, it doesn't seem like what goes on in the economy. I've been really fortunate. Once again, I got a super clientele. In 31 years, there has never been a day with nothing to do. In fact, unfortunately, I lose some jobs just because I can't get to them. I can't get to them in a timely manner. And I do what I can for everybody. But yeah, I'm real fortunate there that I got such a wonderful clientele for the last 31 plus years of this.
Brad at Precision Shifter told me yesterday, he said, I processed 175 orders the other day.
Yeah.
He said, I don't know what it is. I said, I'll tell you what. And he goes, and I don't understand that some of these guys still want red label. I said, well, hang on, think about this. If you're sitting at home and you ain't got dick to do, but work on your car, overnight's cheap. That way you could get out of the house, go put your new shifter in the car.
Yeah. Chief made a comment about that. He was at the shop the other day picking up a third member, and we got to talking about the no racing that's going on right now. He says he really had a really good point. He says, you don't understand. This is the best opportunity for me to get my car prepared, do all the little items that I've been putting off because of our schedule. And then, you know how racing is. You don't just have race car preparation. There's the trailer that needs attention, and the truck needs attention, and all your support equipment, at the generator, the chiller, all your tools. So this is really a good opportunity for all these guys to get caught up on all the little incidentalities.
Right now, Reaper's ready to go. The orange car's ready to go. All we got to do is put them in the trailer.
And you got a good trailer now, too. It's ready to go.
I told you he's not going to let that go.
Why would he?
It's so awesome. I love the trailer story. I want to get pictures of that and put it on my screensaver with all the other cars.
Of the what not to do?
Yeah.
That's going to be the cover of that Bible that he built.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we appreciate you tuning in. Once again, Mike, appreciate you coming over here.
I appreciate it.
I know you're busy. You work 7 days a week over there. So I appreciate you taking the time to come out and talk to everybody.
And thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, appreciate you guys listening today, and we will be back on Friday. Have a good week.
We're out.